And you're watching Let Freedom Ring.
Let Freedom Ring.
And welcome to Let Freedom Ring. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. It has been June 2024 was the last time we've recorded an episode of Let Freedom Ring. We are going to do this virtually today. I have some special announcements here. For the first time ever, Let Freedom Ring will be co-hosted today with the leader of the Bandits, Amy Ban. Welcome to the show, Amy Ban.
Woo, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a lot of fun. And our guest for the return episode, the one, the only, Justin DiFiore.
We're so back.
We are so back.
I love that I have this new thing that they're offering on the StreamYard where you can throw clapping in. So we're gonna be throwing that in a lot. Students, right now we're gonna be doing the show, recording it this way. We may end up back in the studio at some point, but for now, this is how we're gonna get it going. But Justin, you are the guest. Amy's a former guest, co-host today. Let's get to know Justin a little bit. Justin, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
All right, so I'm Justin DiFiore, like Dan said. Thank you once again. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. And, you've definitely become one of my really good friends. I want to throw that out there as well. But yeah, I grew up in Revere, Massachusetts. I lived there until I was 13 years old, and then my parents bought a house in Drake, Massachusetts, where I moved to, and that's where I lived, most of the second half of my life, I guess you could say, when I lived there. Other times I've been in other parts of the world, other parts of the state. But yeah, I grew up in Revere and then moved to Drake when I was 13, 8th grade going into high school. So I went to high school in Drake, and then after high school was just like a totally different story. So we could say that.
Now, my dad grew up in Revere, and he's even written songs about Revere Beach because my dad's a musician.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of Revere Beach at all? Did you spend a lot of time there? I know you said you left at 13, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. So, I mean, even though I left at 13, my grandfather stayed there in the house that I grew up in, and he lived there until I want to say like 2018, 2019, until they sold the house that we grew up in. But yeah, Revere Beach, I mean, so many memories, dude, as a kid, like just going to Kelly's, obvious, right? Kelly's roast
Now it's
beef.
everywhere. It's
Now
literally like everywhere.
This is like when it was like OG Kelly's, you know what I mean? Before it became what it is now, where it's just corporate garbage. But those days. But yeah, I mean, just core memories. Like I remember every year. So my birthday's in August, and like I remember every year around my birthday, there would always be like fireworks down the beach. Like they would have fireworks on 4th of July, but for some reason, like throughout the summer, periodically on like different days, they would just do like fireworks on random nights. They'd have like the bandstand, they'd have like music playing. They'd be like, come down tonight, 7 to 10. There's a band, food, blah, 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 and fireworks, So like I always remembered around my birthday and sometimes on my birthday, like every year there'd be fireworks down the beach. And, that was always a core memory. And I do remember one time, this is kind of a funny story as well, but being like, I think I was 11 or I might have been 12. And I was like, Revere's the city, right? And the way things were back then as opposed to they are now, like none of us had cell phones as kids. We used to just like meet up and ride our bikes and whatever. And I remember it was kind of like forbidden to go down the beach without your parents, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
me and like a group of my boys, we got together and like went to the beach, and I was just like there like all day. And like my parents, like, it was till like 6, 7 o'clock. And I remember like, my parents had no idea where I was. And there was no cell phones then. I'm just out, like, we're just doing whatever. I don't even know, just being kids, mischief, whatever the case may be. And I remember my dad like pulling up at like, it was like 8, it was like dusk. It was starting to get dark. And I remember my dad like skirting and stopping like when he seen me. and he just jumped out the car and like grabbed me by the ear, like, "What do you do?" Like he was driving around for like 3 hours looking for me because my family had no idea where I was because I was just down the beach all day with my friends at like 12 years old with no no
And
contact.
Revere's not like the type of place you want to just be walking. I think it's got a little better, but my dad would tell me the stories there. Yeah.
Yeah, back then was a little different, but
Yeah.
now I'd say, yeah, I definitely wouldn't want my 12-year-old wandering around the beach by himself. But back then, yeah, I was still kind of getting up there. But yeah, it was just that's a core memory of mine about the beach. And then just this just the same old stuff of like just going down there with my grandfather and my siblings and going swimming and all that stuff. You know what I mean? But those two things, like the fireworks and my my dad catching me like fucking just on a rampage. Sorry, excuse my language. Down the beach with my friends. So, yeah.
I gotta ask. So friends with me and Amy. Obviously, you play a lot of softball. Now you graduate from Drake and High. Is that what
Correct.
Did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah. Yep. So I played baseball my whole life. Played football my whole life. I did play basketball like most of my childhood growing up, but I'm 5'9", 5'10" on a good day. So it's like, basketball's not really my thing. I mean, I can play and whatnot, but it's a tall guy's sport. But yeah, I played football my whole life, Pop Warner, in Revere. And then when I moved to Drake, played high school football in Drake. Played baseball in Little League all through. And actually, I didn't even play Little League. I played Cal Ripken in Revere.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we played in Nashville. Yeah.
I played Cal Ripken. I never played Little League. Yeah. And then when I moved to Drake, they had Babe Ruth for like 13 and up, like high school years. In the city was in Revere was Babe Ruth. When I moved to Drake, I want to say they called it like Senior League. I don't know if you're familiar. I feel like that's what I think that's what they called it.
Senior Babe Ruth.
Yeah, or Senior Babe
Yeah.
Ruth, or called it. Yeah. So, I played that in Drake, and I also played like baseball for Drake High as well. I played freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. I started kind of spiraling, and we can get into that. You know what I mean? That's kind of when stuff started to go sideways for me in my teenage years. So I stopped. Junior year, I actually stopped playing all sports my junior year. But yes, I played baseball my whole life, and I'm an avid baseball fan. Love it. Love the Red.
And it makes a lot of sense to play softball now. And I got to ask this: what are, in general, and we're gonna probably talk about a lot of these things, but what are 3 things that everybody should know about you?
Dude, so when you sent this to me earlier, I was driving around and I was on my way. I was driving home and I was like, on my way home and I'm driving and I'm thinking, I'm like, man, I really got to think about what's 3 things people should know.
Hard. It's so hard to narrow it down to 3.
It's kind of, yeah, I feel like to narrow it down and then like, I'm like, do I want to get like super deep with it? Do I want to get like, what are we talking? Like, do I want to be like, oh, I'm like loving and caring, dude? Like, you know what I mean? Or is it just like, I do this on the weekends, So I was thinking like, I don't know, man, if I could narrow it down to like 3 things about myself, like, that people should know is like, I'm someone who loves his family, his friends, right? Like, it's very important to me, like being a good friend and being there for my family and stuff like that. I'm someone who's in recovery and takes his recovery very seriously as a result of like things that I've been through in my life and where I'm at now. Like I don't take my recovery for granted, not for a second. And then 3, I'd say that like I want people to know that like I'm just like a chill, like I love to have fun. I'm a genuine guy that like has made mistakes in the past, but like, has tried to learn from them and like does everything he can to really just be a good person in the world. You know what I mean? That's definitely something I would say I'd want people to know about me. So.
Nice. Now, gotta ask, huh?
I said, hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be whatever. It's whatever you want the people to know. But we gotta ask you the money question now. This is Let Freedom Ring.
Yeah.
We are celebrating 250 years as a country this year, which is wild to think about. That like, we're kind of. This country's not that old. I put it that way. But gotta ask, what does it mean to you to be an American?
Yeah, so this is another one that I really like really liked when you asked me this, and I remember I responded back to you like I love that, that you asked those questions, you wanted me to answer those questions. And for me, it's like I'm not this like overly like political person. Like I'd say like, I'm more like I don't really want to get like too political in that sense, but like,
And being an American, I just want to make a point here.
I know.
Being American doesn't have to be political.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I don't want to get like bring politics into it, but for me, it's like that's kind of that's how I should have said. Like I should have answered that. It's like I don't want to bring politics into it, but for me, it's like being an American it means being free. It means being able to be who I am regardless of, right. Like this is for me, in my experience, in my opinion, like this is like this is the greatest place to live on earth. You know what I mean? I always like specify it like the things that we're like allowed to do here and allowed to experience, like, I'm truly blessed and grateful for that opportunity. And I always say like, there's not many places in the world where like people can like complain about the things that people complain about here from like a Starbucks while drinking a coffee and typing it on their iPhone on social media. You know what I mean? Like when you put it into that perspective, right? Like when people say that like, oh, this country's like a fucking prison or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, dude, you're in a Starbucks on your iPhone drinking a latte, like writing that on social media. You know what I mean? Like things could be a lot worse, So for me, in my experience, like just being American is like I said, being free, being able to be who I am, and like allowing other people to be who they are, and like being okay with that, and just like living life and enjoying that. You know what I mean? So that's how I'd put it.
I think it's a really important thing to talk about because we did an episode a couple of years back, and we had a guest that was in Hong Kong, and we were streaming like we're recording it this way, and they had said they had to be very careful of what they were saying on the show because of government reasons. You have freedom of speech here. There are things you can't, threats and things like that, but you can say whatever you want about the government and they can't go arrest you for it. And I think that's one big thing. And there's many others, but I think you nailed that question very well. So I appreciate that. Amy Ban has some questions.
Let's
and
go.
The bandits out there are wondering. But I'll let Amy take over here. We got some softball related questions here.
Hey. Thanks for having me again. Great to see you, Justy. You've had quite the year in the slow pitch community. So the people and myself would love to know. We're going to do a little HLK here. Highs, lows, and kudos. What was the high of the year for you? A low of the year, and anybody or anything that you'd want to give kudos to?
Wow.
Jam-packed question. Here we are.
I like that a lot. All right, let me see. Do I have to answer it in order?
Nope. You are the maker of your own destiny, right?
Perfect.
Live free or die.
All right. First off, I'd like to say, like, for kudos, like, who I want to give kudos to. Man, just most of the people that I played with, like a lot of the teammates, a lot of the friends that I've made this year. So this year, 2025, this past year, because now we're 2026, right? So this past year, 2025, was my first full year playing slow pitch softball, like from start to finish. I came from playing modified. I played modified softball for like 5 years, pitch, but I'd say I'd give kudos to like the people that didn't really know me, that just kind of played with me here and there, and like, asked me to play with them and like gave me a shot on their teams. Like, Mel Amato, right? One of Dan's best friends, always asked me to play with her. Devin Glover always asked me to play with her, right? Mitch and Drew, right? Two of my best friends. Casey Nolan, good friend of mine, definitely hooked me up with a lot of people. And then like I got into the travel scene of slow pitch softball, like the USSSA and stuff like that. And I really like, playing men's is like super competitive, right? It's like, it's for fun, but like guys are showing up and people are competing for spots and stuff like that. And, I want to give kudos to, right? Like I don't even know if he'll see this podcast, but his name's Omar, right? My coach from Bad Boys on my U-Trip team. Like that dude, like didn't know me from a hole in the wall. Just like someone said, hey, like I got my boy Justin. He's going to play on this team. And like, you know, whatever, he put me on his team and he like put me in the lineup day one and like just had the utmost like confidence in me and like faith in me that like I could like play and like compete. And it just allowed me to like thrive and play well, you know? So with that being said, like to kind of roll that into like the highs of this year's softball season, like honestly, like this was like a great year of softball for someone who's literally their first year of slow pitch softball, their first full season. I won 3 U-Trip tournaments, men's tournaments, right, which is awesome. It's not easy to do, right? Sometimes we won states and then like 2 local tournaments, which is just awesome. And it's a grind, you know. I won a league, the Industrial Men's League. I was a champion in the Industrial Men's League.
Is that Nashua?
The Nashua Industrial Men's League, Tuesday and Thursdays. Right.
I got a few of those.
Dan's won some of those. Which is cool. It was my first year playing in the league. You know what I mean? And like I won a championship. I ended up on a really good team. Right. By luck, by sheer luck, I ended up on that team. And you know, and then I was probably my favorite league that I played in. You know, I played in the Merrimack League and stuff like that. There was a lot of highs in that men's league as well. Just good competition, people helping me with my game and stuff like that. You know, but my favorite was, you know, playing in the Nashua Sunday Co-ed League, right? Like you guys, they voted me Rookie of the Year, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yes, that is true.
Played really well, you know, and was really humble about it. I remember telling Mel, like, you know, I don't care if I win anything. I vote for this person, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, because she was like saying like, oh, you for Rookie of the Year. And I thought she was telling me that she was voting for me. And I was like, oh, well, like, I'll vote for Mac. It was like, I vote for Mac for Rookie of the Year. And she's like, no, I'm telling you that you won the Rookie of the Year for the league. And I'm like, oh, word, like, cool. Like, you know what I mean? You know, and just because of everything that team, like, that was everything up that was about that team, it just made it that much more special. And then we ended up losing in the championship to Dan's team, obviously. But it was just so special because, like,
where are the sound effects for that? Womp womp.
Yeah, I don't think we have that one.
It was such a high, and it was so special because like the people that were on that team, Mel, you know, her brother, her sister-in-law, you know, Drew, Mitch, Devin Glover, like Kyle, like it was just all my friends that I love and enjoy playing softball with, you know what I mean? So it just made for such a fun, you know, experience, you know what I mean? So yeah, there was definitely a lot of highs. And then the lows, I mean, you know, the slumps, right? Like I remember early on in that industrial men's season, like I was kind of slumping, right? And I wasn't really like, I don't know. I didn't figure out my swing yet. I wasn't really like feeling comfortable in the box. I was trying to like, I remember asking so many people, what should I do? Should I move up? Should I move back? Should I move off the plate? Should I do this? Like, maybe I'm taking a step. Maybe I'm like doing too much of a leg kick. Maybe I'm doing this. Maybe I'm doing that. The reality of it is, I was just thinking way too much. You know what I mean? Like I'm going into the batter's box and I'm thinking way too much about what my hands are doing, what my feet are doing, and all this stuff that like I'm just so thrown off that I was in just such a bad slump. And I remember, right, and at this point, I was playing softball 6 days a week, right? 2 men's leagues, one Monday and Wednesday, 1 Tuesday and Thursday, Fridays off, playing tournaments all day Saturday, and then I'm playing Nashua Co-ed on Sundays, right? So I'm literally playing softball 6 days a week. And I remember Tyler McCartney, my teammate, awesome dude, right, was like, bro, the thing is when you play so much softball, as much as you're playing, you see the highs and lows of everything, like, right? Like you see the months where you bat like 900 consistently for 2 months straight. And then you see the times where you're going, you know, 10 for 30 or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And that was like one of those times. And I really like, you know, I was like, dude, I'm not going to play on this team. Like that team was very competitive and has some real good players on it that like, I'm like, this sucks, you know? And I remember like going home and being like, dude, I think I'm just going to like quit, you know what I mean? Or like maybe go play with Morningwood because Ricky will probably give me a break, you know what I mean? You know, yeah. Like, and the reality of is that I just kind of thugged through that time, and
which I respect that, because I don't like when people leave mid-season.
yeah,
Finish the season if you don't like how things are going, and then figure it out the next year. And I don't want to say, I mean, I've walked out on teams, but
yeah.
but like I think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Like I remember sitting on the bench and like talking to like one of the kids and being like, "Dude, I don't know, like, like I might just fucking not come back, Excuse my language, but yeah. So that was like a low, but thank God that I was able to kind of pull myself out of it. And then the reality of it is, right, the grand scheme of things, like, is that a low? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's slow pitch softball in life, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like for me, I look at it like, every bad day that I'm above ground, like I'm 6 feet, not 6 feet deep, like, you know what I mean? Like it's a good day. So like, but those times were kind of low because I remember being like, damn, like I can't hang with these dudes. You know what I mean? I'm a rec player, and luckily, like by the end of the season, I had turned it around and became like in the playoffs. I became, a strong part of that lineup, and especially in the championship, which was awesome, So yeah, I'd say that was a low for me.
Yeah. I would say all of your responses so far are such a testament to the human that you are, like talking about kudos first, giving so much love and support to the people that have helped you get to where you are. I think it really just speaks to the humble, compassionate guy that we all know and love. So thank you so much for that. My next question is about any hot takes or unpopular opinions in the slow pitch softball community.
Oh boy, wait.
I don't
can
know.
also pass this one.
I mean, like, give me like, what's an example that you have, like, Dan, or somebody like,
Throwing a girl out at first, something like that.
yeah,
That's a hot take.
From the outfield, or
Sure, from the outfield.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I love that when I play those tournaments and you're not allowed to do that. You know what I mean? Because it benefits. Sucks when you can't do it, I guess. But I would never do that anyways because I remember I was playing a tournament a couple weeks ago, and there was this kid who was there on the other team who was like a really good player, like very, very good player, like almost conference level softball player, right? And maybe even conference level softball player, but he was playing on one of the other teams, and he kind of just like, I hit one to center field, like a line drive, like no doubt single to center field, and it bounced to him, and he like jokingly tried to like throw me out at first, like he threw the ball in the air like wicked high, but like threw it to first base because I was like jogging. I'm like, bro, you really gonna like try to throw me out from first? You know what I mean? Yeah, from center. But also it's indoor, right? So that wouldn't really happen in outdoor, but something like that. I mean, yeah, I'm not really for doing things like that. I think like kind of like one of those unwritten rules of the game. Like you watch baseball on TV, dudes hit the ball to the outfield. It's like just a no doubt single. No one's like trying to throw someone out from right field, first base when they probably easily could on the regular, But I don't know. For me, my thing is, I would say from like my experience this year so far, and like I said, I haven't played much slow pitch softball in my life. This is literally the first full year of slow pitch softball that I've played. But from my experience, and me and Dan talk about this all the time, like I'm an E-level ranked player, right? Like, and Dan always says, like, really over the last like however many years or so that the ranking kind of became like a thing. Like it wasn't like a thing before, and now everyone's like, oh, I'm D elite, or I'm C, and I'm this. And I've noticed that like a lot of guys around here, like, there's a lot of people around here that like I feel like, in my opinion, probably sandbag. You know what I'm saying? Like, because a lot of people in our area, like, there's not many C tournaments, and I'd say there's a lot of quality like C level ball players, right? But like they have to travel to like Connecticut, or they have to travel to these other places, and they don't want to, right? And they're like close to the commissioner or whatever it is, and they're able to like reclass to D or D elite to like stay in D forever, you know what I mean? And then like guys that are like trying to come up the ladder, like in E-ball, not even me necessarily, because I'll gladly play E-ball for the rest of my life. I could care less, you know what I mean? But like guys that like actually want to like move up and play and stuff like that. There's like guys that should be playing on the next level, you know what I mean? That are like kind of staying in their way, So I'd say that like people should just, yo, if you want to play softball, bro, you should play what your rank should be, dude. So you should be playing C's. Go to fucking Connecticut every weekend. You know what I mean? Like I don't care.
Yeah,
You know.
that's a tough thing though, because if you are that player, right, and you do get, and maybe you should be ranked B and there's nowhere to go. I mean, I don't want to drive to Connecticut. Like, so it's kind of like, what do you do there? You know what I mean? Like, that is a tough thing, and like I think a lot of people sometimes lose what we're really doing, right? Like softball, to me, shouldn't really be about wins and losses. Like everybody wants to win, I get that, but it's really just like to break up the monotony of the boredom of everyday life, right? So yeah, that's a great point, and that's such a hard, like, what do
That
you
might,
do there? You
that might
know?
just speculate. That might just be me speculating too. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I don't know who's supposed to be what or whatever. But I know, like, when I see the quality, I won't name names, but I see like the quality of like this guy who's like D, and then this guy who's D. It's like, bro, you're like way better than this guy. You know what I mean? Like you should be playing up. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the same thing for E's. There's guys that stay in E's and they take advantage of like being able to play down if you don't have the tag and all that stuff. Which all that stuff as well. I'm still learning about all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not acting like I'm some U-trip experienced person. It's my first year, but just some of the things that I see, would be like my like gripe or like whatever I forget exactly what the question was, but like hot takes about stuff that goes on in slow pitch softball.
Yeah, U-Trip rankings are so tough. That comes up a lot. So
Wicked. Yeah.
my last question, I think it may transition us into the next segment. In your first full year of playing slow pitch softball, I know you've been very outspoken about your experience with recovery, sobriety. Good health, Dan. God bless. How has it been navigating or balancing sobriety with slow pitch softball?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, like I had no idea that like quote unquote like sober softball was even a thing, right? Like I said, I played modified for 5 years before this, and I played with my uncle. So my uncle's been playing. So I know some people. I don't know when the questions potentially from the people that commented on the post saying that Dan asked if anybody had any questions. I know some people wrote some questions on there, and I think someone said like, "How did I get into slow pitch softball?" Well, my uncle has been playing modified softball for like 30 something years. He's almost 60 years old. So honestly, he's going on 40 years playing, and
it's like the legend.
yeah, he's like I think I want to say he's 58 or 59, and he's probably been playing since he was 19, 20. You know what I mean? And
That's wild.
And yeah, he pitches and he's in great shape. He's in great shape, and he actually lives in Nashua too. But he got me to play because he knew that I played baseball my whole life. That he got me to play modified, and when I was playing modified, like a lot of modified leagues, there isn't many left for that matter, right? But a lot of the modified leagues are like, they're like OG beer leagues. You know what I mean? Like literally every Sunday, both teams are drinking. People are smoking. Like you play like traditional. It's like there's no time limit. There's no weird like home run rules. It's like 7 innings, 0-0 count. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's no like, if you have 2 strikes, you hit a foul, you're out. Like it's like you could literally hit 900 fouls and you stay at the plate. You know what I mean? It's like baseball. It's like real softball rules. And but I remember like when I was playing with that that group of people, my uncle got me on the team with, like I'd go play with them Sundays, and then like after they'd be like drinking and smoking, and I'd kind of like at this point I had like 4 years clean at the time, and I don't know. I kind of always been able, like, I shouldn't say always, but when I got to a certain point in my recovery, I don't want to say that I'm exempt or that like I'm stronger than the disease or anything like that. But I've always been like okay around like people like drinking, smoking, and whatnot to a certain extent, right? Like I'm not gonna like ride in a car with somebody smoking a blunt or something like that. But if I'm at like a softball event and like two of my teammates are like 6 feet away from me smoking weed, like I'm not gonna like, my life's not gonna crumble. You know what I mean? For me, I don't suggest that to people that are new in recovery or trying to navigate through their recovery or whatever the case may be. But so like I was kind of used to it, and then like so I played. There's a local like sober tournament or recovery tournament like New Hampshire Core that they throw every year, and it was funny because one of my good friends, who like plays softball regularly, like we do. He owns a sober house in the southern New Hampshire area, and they put a team in that tournament every year. And then another one of our friends, mutual friends, who's one of my best friends, who's not in the softball scene, once a year plays on that team. You know what I mean? And he knew that I played softball and was like, "Yo, you want to play in this tournament?" And I was like, "Oh, is it like modified or slow pitch?" And he's like, "It's slow pitch." I'm like, "Oh, word, I'll play." You know what I mean? And like I showed up or whatever, like played, and I seen Casey Nolan there, who I had already known from like going to like recovery meetings in the southern area, and he was like, whatever. I connected with him, and then like the following like week or whatever, he asked me to play in a tournament in like Maine. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'm down. I just want to play softball. When you play modified, you play like 1 day a week. That's it. There's no like tournaments. There's no like, you know what I mean? At least the leagues that I played in, maybe 2 days a week. And there's tournaments like maybe like once or twice a year. There's a big tournament in Canaan every year at the same fields that we play the slow pitch tournament at. And then there's like nationals or whatever. And then maybe like one other tournament, you know what I mean? But it's not like slow pitch where it's just tournaments every week, league 5 days a week. So when he asked me to play that tournament, I was like, dude, I'm so down because I just want to play softball, you know what I mean? And then like going to that tournament, I met like some other people like Merle and Fuzzy and some other people that like played slow pitch like consistently, and and I was like, wow, this is like a sober tournament, and like I just was like blown away. I didn't know that they did those things oriented for the recovery community, and it was awesome, So with that being said, like when I started playing like the U Trip and then like the leagues, like the National League and the Merrimack League, and people are drinking, smoking, and stuff like that. Kind of just like how I said about this, like when I played modified early on, it's never really been like an issue for me, you know what I mean? And especially at this point, like where I'm at now, like I'm 10 years clean, coming up on 11 years clean. Once again, I'm not exempt from anything. I'm not stronger than the disease. I'm not going to say that I can, do whatever, but I firmly believe in like my higher power and like the program that I work, and the 12-step fellowship I'm a part of. But like, it didn't bother me being around people smoking and drinking and being able to like navigate through that. And then once you have like your little clique of people, so like you're on this team that's like, and it seems like God just always kind of is always working in my life, because like everywhere I go, it just works out, right? Like I end up with a group of people that are in recovery and just as crazy about softball that I am. So like I get to be around these people. And then when I go to like the men's team, that's not necessarily like the men's travel team. It's not a sober team by any means, right? But there's like other people on the team that happen to be in recovery by chance. You know what I mean? So it's like when my higher power is just always directing me. So like when I'm navigating through these different aspects of my recovery through the softball community, it seems like my higher power is guiding me in the right way and keeping me, keeping on the forefront that like, yeah, these teammates might be smoking weed and doing this, but you have these other teammates over here that are like also doing the same thing as you. So I've just been blessed, and I've been fortunate that like I haven't really struggled in that aspect where like it hasn't really been an issue for me to have to deal with that, So if that makes sense to what you asked.
That's yeah, it definitely does. In 10 years, I did not miss that. So that's definitely something to be proud of too. So kudos to you, going on 11. My mom just said 11 years in September too. So it's a big accomplishment. It really is. And you should be so proud of yourself to be a role model, I think, for the community too. And just kind of how you've built your friends around that and how you all represent a new chapter. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that is a great answer. And I had a sponsor once say that, I'm not made of glass, right? Like, because I think in early sobriety, being around that stuff can be really tough,
Mm.
right? But I think what happens over time, like, it just becomes like it's not part of your life anymore. At least like
Yeah.
for me, like, you know, um,
Dude,
it
not to
doesn't bother
interrupt.
you, right? It doesn't bother me. Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but like some of these like scenarios where I'm talking about was like Nashua Sunday co-ed where Dan was like in the same circles. You know what I mean? Like where people are like drinking right next to us, smoking weed right near us. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is.
You know what the
Like,
craziest thing is? Like, think about that. When I was in treatment, I literally was like, I'm never gonna play softball again. I'm never going to a Patriots game again. I'm never going to a concert, right? Like that is all the stuff that's going through my head. Like I'm never gonna be able to do this stuff again. And I do it all. Maybe even more so than before, and
you
I so
remember
I got it. Yeah.
and you remember all of it now.
That's like, I'll tell you, and I tell the story, and anytime I've done a, God, what am I? When you're the guest speaker, commitment, I've always brought up to myself, like, I went to a Janet Jackson concert very early in sobriety by myself, and it was amazing because I
Hey, you
was like, yeah, I sat on the top of the hill at the place in Mansfield, right? I bought a ticket that day and just watched the concert and was like, oh my God, like I wasn't in the beer line the whole time. I remember I'm not blacked out, I gotta ask this, how did you end up getting involved in recovery? And I mean, as far as you want to go with it, but like, how did you decide like enough was enough?
Yeah. So should I start from the beginning or should I just talk about,
Yeah, whatever you want. We got a little bit of time.
Yeah, so I mean for me like my I come from like my family's a very loving and caring family. My parents are still married to this day. My parents aren't parents aren't involved in that type. My parents are great people, right? They raised me really well. They instilled morals and values in me. Me and my brothers and sisters. They just I had a, to for lack of a better like term, I had a great childhood, right? And I wouldn't change my childhood experiences for anything. But I think like every other child or most children or most kids, I guess, or whatever, early teens or preteens, whatever you want to call it, like, you become curious at some points. And like when I remember growing up in Revere and the kids that I hung around with, a lot of them were, you know, maybe not as fortunate as me in that area, like with having both parents or whatever it was. And I remember like they kind of would just, I don't want to say they were bad kids, but they just whatever. That's just we did what we did, and I remember like smoking weed with my friends for the first time and being 12 years old, and I didn't really like it, to tell you the truth. The first time I used a substance was marijuana when I was 12, and I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan. I wanted it to go away, the feeling. I remember waking up the next morning. I remember that night I was like, fuck, I was like, I wanted anything and everything to just happen so that the feeling would go away. And I remember waking up the next morning and I remember being like maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I should try it again, different time. Like, it was like the mind games were already being played on me before I even knew it. And today, as a result of being in recovery, I know what that was. But and I remember not too long after that was when I moved. My parents bought the house in Drake and we moved up here. And and I started to like meet different kids in the environments that I came from, where I grew up in Revere, to like the environment that I was going into, like eighth grade, like end of eighth grade, going into freshman year is a very tough time for a child. You know what I mean? Like to have your life uprooted, and I remember, so when I went to this new school, like I just sought out kids that weren't doing the right thing and kind of like rebelled a little bit against my parents because I was upset that they had moved me away, and just being naive, not knowing that like, dude, my parents bought a house, like, you know what I mean? Like like looking back at it now, I'm like, hindsight's 2020. Like looking back at it now, like that's amazing. You know what I mean? Like, and at the time, you're just like a naive, pissed off kid, like, oh, like I hate my parents, they're ruining my life. You know what I mean? reality of it is they're giving me the best life possible, you know, and you know, the things just happened. Like I met those kids and I just started to like, you know, I just started to like not care as much about school. You know, I was still involved with sports because I still like sports a lot, but like I was kind of just like backing off of a lot of things, and I started to like, you know, the weed started to come around again. I started to use weed a little bit more, and then I started to go to like the high school parties, and then like just being in that circle like led me to meet certain people. And then like the opiate epidemic of like my generation of like people my age kind of came back around. And I remember like being 16 years old, and I was like an everyday weed smoker. And at this point, like I think it was like my sophomore year, my junior year. So it was my junior year where I stopped playing sports. But yeah, so it was my junior year. So I had stopped playing sports that year, and I kind of just I remember my dad being like so disappointed, you know. And I look back at that now and like, you know, it is what it is. But like not really having an answer, right? And the answer was like I wanted to like smoke weed and do drugs and do all this stuff. And my dad asked me like, why don't you want to play baseball anymore? Why don't you want to play football? You know what I mean? Like I was just lost, you know. And I remember like just being in those circles of like people, of like kids that were smoking weed all the time and stuff and partying, going to high school parties. Like it led me to like meet the kids that had gone to the next level of like now they're doing pills, now they're doing coke. I tried pills for the first time. It like quickly became addicted. You know what I mean? And you know, by 17 years old, you know, I barely graduated high school. I think I graduated with a D average. And I remember like my senior year, they told me like certain classes that I had already passed that like I could fail for the year, senior year, and like still graduate. I'm like, you should have never told me that because now I'm not doing absolutely anything. You know what I mean? Like,
I did that.
yeah. Just like why would you ever tell a kid that? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I hope I don't do that nowadays. But you know, but became heavily addicted to the pills, and I remember I graduated high school and I went to treatment for my first time. I went to an adult facility at 17 years old, and it was kind of traumatizing, to be honest. And I felt like I felt like my problem wasn't as bad, even though I was like robbing my family at this point already and stuff. And but a lot of the people that were in there were like older men that were like in their 30s, you know, had been to prison, were shooting heroin, doing all these things. And you know, and I was just like, man, I don't belong here. Like, I just need to get this under wraps, and like, you know, I'll be fine, and I can just do whatever I got to do. And, you know, and I wasn't going to like a rehab or nothing. I was going home. My parents would let me come back home because this was like the early stages of my active addiction. And, you know, and I remember, H&I came in. They call it H&I. So it's like hospitals and institutions. It's like a, 12-step thing, and Narcotics Anonymous meetings come into the treatment facility, and you know, they said to like go to a meeting before you hit the street and all this stuff, and I started like going to meetings when I left there, and I was like getting involved and stuff like that, and I wasn't like fully ready to like surrender to the disease, right? I wasn't fully ready to like let go of all like the people, places, and things that I needed to let go of to like thrive and stay away from the life that I was, you know, going towards. And I remember like, you know, the first kid that called me from my past life that was like, hey, you want to like go use or whatever? And I was like, you want to smoke weed? And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm down. You know, I just had no defense. I had no defense against the first one, right? Because I wasn't like actively really working a program of recovery. I was just kind of merely just coasting through. And, you know, and from that point on, I was, you know, like 18 at the time. And from 18 to 21, the next 3 years of my life were like the worst 3 years of my life, like in and out of treatment facilities. I had started like IV using heroin, you know, homeless on the streets of Boston, no contact with my family. Like I said, in and out of treatment facilities. I was eating at churches, sleeping in shelters, you know, sleeping on the streets, sleeping outside, sleeping on Revere Beach, you know, stemming, panhandling for money, like, you know, towards the end, you know, I'd say like the crisis that brought me to recovery was like, you know, it was like once again, like my clean date's February 25th, 2015. So like February 24th, 2015, it was like the Patriots just won the Super Bowl and it snowed for like fucking 6 weeks straight. You know, Malcolm
Oh,
Butler,
yeah.
in his ball at the goal line. I was in a halfway house in Framingham. I was watching it with a bunch of the guys, and then like it snowed for like 6 weeks. The next day, I went and got high. I relapsed the next day, and you know, and I continued to use for a few more weeks. And February 24th, the last day that I got high, I had like overdosed. Woke up in a hospital. Knowing how I got there, you know, and just like I kind of had that like outer body experience where it was like I looked death in the face and I came to like that imaginary fork in the road where I was 21 years old and like all the kids that I had like grown up with and like went to school with that were like my quote unquote like real friends were like graduating high school, graduating college, you know, starting careers, starting families, like buying houses, doing all these things, and like here I am like homeless. My family wants nothing to do with me. Like I'm actively like, you know, I'm actively shooting drugs. Like, you know, I'm just a mess. You know what I mean? And I'm on the brink of death. And it's like I'm either gonna like get clean right now and like change my life, or I'm gonna continue to like do what I'm doing. And like best case scenario is I'm gonna be like an active addict for the rest of my life and miserable, or like I'm gonna die. You know? And I was like, at that point, I was like, what's another detox stint? You know what I mean? So like I just went. Ended up going back to treatment, and just, the rest is kind of history, man. I just kind of got reconnected with like the people that I came up with, and you know, and like just started to go to meetings on a regular basis. And I was in the Boston area, so I got clean in the Boston area, and I was there for 6 years, and then moved back up this way, you know, because my family's up this way and stuff, and you know, and just yeah, I mean that those series of events kind of led me to recovery, and like the you know those are the reasons why I got here and the reasons why I stay. Obviously, you know, they have changed and grown and continue to you know change every single day, like why I stay here, you know. So if that
Well, I think
answers, I don't know,
no,
Jay.
that's an amazing story. That's a lot I didn't know about you. And I think what's amazing about it too is that at 21 years old, you were able to figure that out. Because there's a lot of people that like and you know, I can count on multiple hands the amount of people that I know that died before 25, like from drug
Yeah,
addiction. And it's crazy because but to be honest, until I got into recovery myself, you know, for alcoholism, I didn't know a lot of these type of stories, right? Like I looked at it as like, yeah, my friends passed away, like, but I didn't know what they were going through, you know, or anything like that. So I think that's a great story and like very you know, important for people to hear. Like what would you say to somebody who is like in that boat, or someone thinks they have a problem either with drugs or alcohol? What would you say to someone that's maybe looking for help?
yeah, wow. I think I would say that you know if someone is someone's struggling, right? If someone's in active addiction and they know that they're in active addiction, right? Like they're not confused, you know what I mean? Like this is somebody who's like actively homeless or actively using drugs every single day. They know that they're an addict, right? Like they're not like on the brink or on the cusp of trying to figure it out. And they ask me like, what do you think I should do? Like, is it worth it, right? Or like, you know, should I get clean? And for me, I always look at it like, you know, like your misery can be refunded, right? Like give yourself a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like early on, they always told me that like give yourself 90 days, and if you aren't satisfied with the decision that you made to like change your life, you know what I mean, or to get better, Mass Ave will always be there. You know, the tree streets in Nashville will always be there. You know, like whatever area you're from or whoever that has the drugs and the crime, like it will always be there for you to go back to. You know what I mean? But like, why not give yourself a shot, or give yourself a chance, and like maybe just invest in yourself a mere like mustard seed size of investment into yourself, as opposed to what you would do to get high and continue to use, and see what will happen. You know what I mean? And I think that like for me, you know, that's like what it was is early on. Like I just needed like, I don't know, I just needed somebody to kind of just be on like, and also too, like be like, not try to act like someone was like a higher up, just like, anonymity, like equal playing field, like someone just like, even if they have more clean time or whatever it is, and they're the person that like just acting like, treat me like I'm a human, you know what I mean? And treat me with like respect, even though I'm doing the most heinous and disrespectful things to myself on a daily basis, you know what I mean? And so I would say to somebody like that, like what do you got to lose? You know what I mean? You can continue on this path, and at best case scenario, you'll die one day with a needle in your arm. You know what I mean? Or you'll die one day with the bottle in your hand, or you'll die one day with, you know what I mean? And if you stay on that path, but if you go this way, dude, the possibilities are endless. You know what I mean? I can't even tell you, like, the things that I wanted to achieve in my first year of recovery, being clean. My sponsor had me write down 10 things I wanted to achieve. If I told you, like, dude, it was comical. It was like, have a bank account. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, dude? Like, literally, like,
Yeah.
get a mass ID. You know what I mean? Like get a permit. And these are like all things that I literally accomplished in like a month of like not using drugs. It's just like, and then endless. So I would say, give yourself a chance. The possibilities are endless of the life that you could have.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly like I think that's really good advice. And my takeaway too, like I remember when, I battled alcoholism for a very long time, right? But I never, like, I used to have a buddy send me a literature and I would read it and have no idea what the heck it meant.
Yeah.
Like no idea. Like I'd read this and be like, dude, what am I supposed to take away from this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Jesse finally he took me to a meeting, right? And I went in 2021 and I listened and I was like, whoa, these people get it. You know what the thing about it was? Like I wasn't ready, right? I wasn't ready to be sober, but it started to sink in.
Yeah. The seed was
Like
The
the
planted.
seeds were planted.
message, the seeds were planted. And then, and I would tell anybody, I think you bring up a good point too. And I bring this up in a lot of meetings is like, if you have to get the physical piece done, like a rehab, a lot of people are like, well, if I just go to AA or NA and if you don't, I really am like, take care of the medical piece
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
And
For
then
sure.
you can,
In my experience, like my parents have like section 35 me multiple times. I don't know if they have that in New Hampshire, but like in Massachusetts, like your parents or a loved one can like literally go to like the courthouse and like put a petition in and say that like my son or my significant other or my brother or whatever, he's like actively using drugs and like gonna die. Like, you know what I mean? So like, can you guys go like rescue him from society? And because he won't go get help on his own. And that my parents did that to me multiple times. And you know for me, like at the end, like I was just so beaten and so broken at some of those times that like I just had, for me, I had to be physically removed from society. Like I had for at least a little short period of time. You know what I mean? And so for me, like I definitely always advocate that, like, dude, just take yourself out of the scene for a little bit, whether it be for medical reasons, like you're saying, Dan, to get your health in order, or like just to like get a change of scenery, like go into treatment, dude, go get some sleep for a couple weeks, eat a couple meals, like, you know what I mean, like get your mind right. And and it'll be so beneficial. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not always like, but like you can go like, you can go into a 12-step meeting without going to treatment and definitely like get clean and stay clean. You know what I mean?
oh yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
but same as you, I definitely advocate like go get yourself some help first and lead your way here for sure.
And I think the biggest thing is like it's different for everybody. Like, cause I can tell, and like same with you, like we could tell people what worked for us, but everybody's gonna be a little bit different. I know for like for me, the reason I say that is because like I never knew you could die from withdrawal from alcohol. Like I never knew that. And you know how many times I detoxed myself? Like, and I'm like,
Bro, that's
wow,
scary.
I wish I knew that. And then I had to read an article about, some of my age passing away. It was like some offensive coordinator in the NFL. And I was like, he's 38, I'm 38. I was like, oh, this is real. Like, cause I don't know how you felt, but like for so long, you don't feel like it's real, or it's it's a problem, but is it really that big? I survived another day. I went to work. I did everything I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Um, it's wild. It's
Yeah,
wild. So I,
like that. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I think that was kind of like that last day using my overdose. You know what I mean? It was kind of that thing where I was like, same thing where I was like, wow, like, you know, like I just woke up, tubes down my throat in a hospital bed. Like, this is not like smoking a joint in my mom's basement with my friends anymore. You know what I mean? This is
escalated. Yeah.
This is totally escalated to a point where, like, for the last 3 years, I've been homeless, actively like killing myself on a daily basis. You know what I mean? So it's like, you're either gonna die, you're either gonna keep doing this and die, or maybe just take a chance. Just take a chance. Go right instead of left for once. You know what I mean? And
Well, like they say, jail, institutions, or death, right? Or you fall into the safety net of AA and NA. That's what I truly believe. Like the safety net, you know. So
the last house on the block. I always say it's the last thing that I tried and the first thing that worked. You know what I mean? I try everything else.
absolutely.
I try to only use 1 day a week. I try to only, you know, put some money in this sock and some money in that sock and only use with that money. And inevitably I end up spending it all. Like, you know what I mean? I always tried to outsmart the system. You know what I mean? When the system already had this thing laid out for me that I just needed to follow simple direction. And once I was able to follow that direction, I was able to stay clean 1 day at a time. You know what I mean?
No, I love that story, and I think it's an important message to hear for everybody. We're getting short on time, and I think I want to make sure, because you had an epic amount of fan questions and some
I
comments.
saw fan questions up on the thing on the bottom.
Yeah. So, Amy, do you have all the questions in the comments or just the questions?
I have most of them. Yeah, I think I got all. You did get a lot of love on Facebook, with some claiming best dude I know, another getting better every spring, top-notch teammate, 3-time champion. Mitchell Steven wants to know. You were wearing a certain jersey in the photo that Dan posted, and I'll entertain. What were your stats when you were wearing that jersey? And walk us through how that day went.
Of course, I love that. Mitch is my guy. Yeah, so Dan, I don't know why he chose that photo. It is a good picture. It's a good picture for sure.
It's professionally done. Yeah.
Girl,
I love Kanan.
The girl Vanessa, who takes those pictures, she's unbelievable. Like, if I ever am in charge of getting the photographer, I'm hitting her up next time for sure. Yeah, that was from Canaan this past year at Canaan, and we went up there with this team, and you know, thought it was gonna be a great experience, dude. And we went 0-4, and you know, 4-game guarantee. We lost all 4 games, and I literally batted .000. I didn't get one hit all 4 games.
No, it's so tough when those days happen.
I think I didn't play 1 game, so I played 3 games, and in those 3 games I was like 0 for 2, 0 for 2, and 0 for 1, and it was just one of those weekends. And I'm pretty sure Amy's team actually sent us home, because we were Goon Squad, and you were, I think you guys sent us home. But it was one of those weekends. I'll just say this, and then whatever, go to the next question. But it was one of those weekends where you just know that it's just not your weekend. You just can't buy a hit, right? I mean, we played this team that I got up, and I probably hit the hardest ball I've hit all year with a wood bat, a line drive to second base at this girl, because I like to hit it to right field, and it was over her head, and she literally went like this, put her head down, and like put her hand up like that, and just caught it, like snow coned it. Like, she was scared of the ball coming at her, and just like threw her glove up in the air and caught it.
Look what I found.
Yeah, and I was literally just like, dude, I can't even buy it. I can't buy a hit. You know what I mean? Like, that was like a no, like that's like I get a hit off that ball every single time, and this girl just like threw it, like was like scared of it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, we're not wearing a mask. You know what I mean? She did the old cover my face and put my glove up, like, and I was like, wow. And then we were out of the tournament by like 4 o'clock on Saturday, to the point where Mitch was like, I'm just ready to drive home right now. You know, and we had the house for another night. You know, it was a forgettable experience, to say the least. You know, so
Kanan's tough. Kanan is so tough. It's so hit or miss.
Games are too. If you don't get a hit in like your first at bat, you might not even get up again. You know what I mean? Like,
they're quick.
Yeah. So
right. All right. Pat Connolly wants to know. I know you spoke a little bit about this, but how did you find softball, or how did it find you? I know you mentioned your uncle.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I said earlier, like my uncle kind of got me into modified, and then that led me to like, you know, getting asked to play in that tournament, and then being in that tournament and really what it is I should say is like being clean, right? Being in NA and being in a 12-step fellowship. I don't usually like to mention which one, but being a part of a 12-step fellowship, you know, I met some people prior to even knowing about like the slow pitch softball community, which is where I met Casey, and he asked me to play in that second tournament after the fact, you know, and that was just like opening Pandora's box from that point on, you know what I mean? So I'm forever grateful for that, you know what I mean? Because now, you know, I have so many new friends and people in my life, and it's just awesome, you know. So
Shout out NH Core and
NH Core.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna do two more. Sarah Booth wants to know, when did you get the nickname Justy?
So once again, to mention the kid's name for like the 10th time, Casey Nolan gave me that nickname. I think his name's Casey, and he's just like he called me Justy. I don't know. He just was calling me that, and then he just kept saying it, and people kept saying it. And I honestly kind of didn't really like it at first, and not necessarily like it, but now I'm kind of just used to it because everybody just calls me that. Like nobody else calls me that other than softball people, you know. Just
I love that.
But it's kind of grown on me, I should say. You know what I mean?
You are the Justy. All right. Last question. I know this is the one that Dan is most excited about. Now, there's been a lot of talk about The Sopranos ending. And so Samantha wants to know, or I guess she had mentioned not being thrilled about the ending. So we want to know, what are your thoughts on The Sopranos ending?
Jesus, that's crazy. All right. So my theory is that Tony gets whacked. You know what I mean? At the end, I don't know by who. I can't really say by who, but I will say this: that when I replied to that girl's comment, and I said about the interviews from David Chase, I remember reading this article that David Chase said that, you know, Tony dies at the end. He gets killed at the end, but he didn't want to put it on screen. He didn't want to air it, right? He didn't want us to see Tony get killed, because by that point, right, in our lives or in the season or where we were at with Tony Soprano as this character, people had like grown to like just like they loved Tony. You know what I mean? He was a guy that was a serial killer, to say the least.
But he's like your dad.
But he's like, yeah, he's like the guy you want to, like, you know what I mean? You want him on the grill at the barbecue, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's like the guy. So he felt like fans like didn't want to see like the person that they loved and idolized so much get killed, because it would be like heartbreaking to go out like that. So instead he just faded to black, like, you know what I mean? He just went to black. So I think whether it be Gino or not Gino, right, the members only jacket that you see in the end, it's was it Patsy maybe or something? I'm kind of drawing a brain fart right now, but that they said potentially the theories could have been that because the guy that walks into the bar before Meadow comes in has the members only jacket on or whatever it is.
I mean, Parisi would probably want Tony killed. I mean, if you through the, you know,
and what's it called? Then I sent Dan this crazy theory that I seen the other day. there's theories out there that are wild, but there's one the other day that they said Davey Scatino killed him, which is, you know, some local poker degenerate gambler that, you know, Tony just extorted out of everything out.
You never see again after season 1 either.
Yeah,
so.
You never see him again. He goes to Nevada for whatever reason, you know. And for some reason, there's fans that they've come to this like conclusion that he might have showed up at the end to kill Tony, you know, or had him killed. I don't know, but all I know is I kind of believe what I read from what David Chase said, you know. So
I gotta watch.
Yeah, and I gotta ask this because actually a couple other just questions I want to get in, because this one came up twice from Kelly LaPlante and KPG, Kendall Payne Glover. You're a pizza lover?
Yes.
Does pineapple go on pizza?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not a pineapple on pizza guy. I honestly, to tell you the truth, I'm super traditional, dude. I enjoy like a good cheese pizza, a good pepperoni. Every now and then I like to get like I'll like to do like a sausage and ricotta pizza, you know. But I'm like super traditional, like all the crazy. Like I'll eat a buffalo chicken if it's there or whatever it is, but I'm not like for my personal like. If I go and order myself a pizza right now, like I'm probably most likely just gonna get like a small pepperoni or a small cheese, you know, because I just think that like I don't know, I'm Sicilian. My grandparents are right off the boat from Sicily. They've been in America since the 70s and they barely speak English to this day. And like a lot of like American, like Italian, like culture stuff that like I don't know, my grandparents are like literally they from Sicily. You know what I mean? My dad's fluent in Sicilian, like Italian dialect or whatever, Sicilian dialect. And like, you know, I don't know, just a lot of stuff like people do with like pizza and stuff and like different like pasta dishes and stuff. I don't know. That wasn't like a thing. You know what I mean? Like my dad, I don't know, we just ate like cheese and pepperoni, you know what I mean? So like, I don't know, like that's what I like. But I won't say I've never had a Hawaiian pizza. I mean, I just wouldn't be the one I don't think you need pineapples on pizza. I don't know what you guys think, but
I've never, I mean, I'm sure I've tried. I don't want to say I've never because I'm old and I probably have and just don't remember, but indifferent to
Yeah.
that.
I'm shocked.
Why, you like it?
I do, but I love the sweet and savory combo. So big fan. I'm also very experimental, I feel like, with food. So yeah.
Like I said, I definitely eat. I've definitely had it before. I'm never going to order it for myself, you know?
I also want there was a comment too we gotta give a shout out to Mike Lush because I know he is chomping at the bit to get back on the show. I can't wait to have him. But he gave you a really nice, great player, getting better every spring. Not just great player, but a great breed of human.
Yeah,
my nephew.
Dude. Yeah, I love Lush, dude. So what's funny is that so Lush plays modified still, and I met Lush playing modified, and my uncle has been playing softball with Lush for 30 years, 20 years. You know what I mean? My uncle has known Lush forever. And there's a league in Malden that I was playing in. I played in it 2024. My uncle's been in that. It's an old church league in Malden. My grandfather, my papa, who since passed away, played in that league. Like, you know, distant relatives have played. My uncle's been playing in it, like I said, for 30 years, since the 90s. And Lush has been playing in that league for probably 20 years, you know. And they're on the same team. Lush has played for like every team in that league. My uncle has only played for one team, which is St. Peter's Angels. They've been in that league since the beginning. But Lush, when I played 2024, Lush was on St. Peter's Angels. So like I grew to know Lush for a whole season before I had ever played slow pitch in Nashua or U-Trip or anything like that. So then like I remember like going to a tournament, that first tournament that Casey invited me to. Lush played with us. Somebody asked Lush, I don't know who, it might have been, I don't know, I think it was Casey maybe because he played NH Core, but like I remember being like, dude, Lush knows all these people here, like somehow, like how do you know all these people, but not knowing that he'd been playing slow pitch softball for how, you know, just 30 years or whatever, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, he's an awesome guy. He's always showed me like a lot of love. He's always like, you know, when I played with him, he always messes with me. You know what I mean? He's that dude. He always fly ball gets, you know, it'll be 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th, down up 1 base is loaded, and the ball gets hit to me in the outfield, and he'll say like 2 hands, you know, and he'll like yeah. He's like daring me to drop it. He's on my team, and he's like daring me to drop. You know what I mean? But he's always like just, you know, showing me love and always like giving me like tips. You know what I mean? Because that dude's probably one of the best ball players I've ever played with. You know what I mean? So.
He's you know, he's a great guy, and honestly, we've had him on the show. He's a character. And Mike, we're gonna have you back on, and yes. His episodes are really good, fascinating stuff. I wanted one more question too. Because we gotta show love.
Wayne's question didn't come up.
No, that's what I'm gonna ask. I can't leave my guy Wayne LaCourte out of this. How much water exactly did you puke before stepping in the box and slinging? I think this happened in a tournament in Maine, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So I'll just sum this up very quickly. Like, so I played for Morningwood in the tournament. It was like my second U-Trip tournament of the year, men's tournament. Played for Morningwood. Went to this tournament first in Biddeford, Maine. First game was at like 8 a.m. It was like June. It was the middle of June, so it was like 95 degrees. First game was at like 8:30 or 9 or something like that. So I'm up early, whatever, go play. We go on a run, right? We go on a run. There's only 10 of us there. Morningwood has like 30 guys, but this weekend there's only 10 of us there. That's why they asked me to play with them. And like honestly, it was probably my best tournament of the year. I got all tourney, right? Ronnie awarded me all tourney for that tournament, like because we made it to the finals. We didn't win the tournament, but we lost. But I played really well. I think like in 5 games or whatever it was, or 6, 5 games. I think I was like 16 for 18 or 16 for 17 or something. Like I had probably the best tournament I had all year. With that being said, when you play these U-Trip tournaments and you go in the winner's bracket and then you go to the winner's bracket final and you win, sometimes there's still like 3 or 4 more games before you actually get to play the championship. You know what I mean? So I was just pounding water all day just to stay hydrated, drinking like Gatorade, electrolytes, pounding water. And then we like went to some like they had this like market up the street that like sold like pizza and made sandwich. It was kind of cool. It was nice. It was like right there. But I got like I don't even know what I got. I got like mozzarella sticks, dude, all this stuff, you know. Whatever. I'm like picking at food all day, drinking water. It's hot. And then like when it's in the summertime and it's like really hot all day, and then the sun goes down, and now it's like probably like 80 degrees, but the sun's not like beaming on you. So you're not like sweating constantly like you were. So like all this water that I was drinking was just like sitting in my stomach, you know what I mean? Like at this point. And then I started to kind of feel nauseous. So we're in the championship game. I think it was the second. We were undefeated. We lost the first game. And then it was the second game, I think. Yeah, it was the second game. And I'm on deck and like the bases are loaded. I'm on deck and I forget what happened, but someone gets out or gets a hit or whatever, and the bases are still loaded. And I come up and I'm in the on deck circle. And all of a sudden, like KP, you know KP obviously, Kyle Poison, awesome dude. He lights a cigarette next to me, and I don't smoke. I smoked in like 3-4 years. My stomach I was already like feeling sick. And mind you, at this point, it was literally like 11 o'clock at night. We had been playing since 8 a.m. and then sat for like, we played for like 4 hours and then sat for like 4 hours. And then these 2 games that we're playing are just taking forever. So KP lights a cigarette and he took a drag and I'm like sitting in the on deck circle. And then like all of a sudden I just got like a whiff of the cigarette and like tasted it. And I like started gagging. I was like, oh my God. Dude, I'm like, this is brutal. And I'm in the on deck circle and all of a sudden I just gotta puke, dude. And I start, absolutely blowing chunks, dude. Like bad. Like projectile. And they're like, batter up. You know what I mean? And I'm like outside the fence, like throwing up. Dude. We have 10 guys. Like no one can go hit for me. Like, you know what I mean? And I remember Matthew St. Peter's girlfriend. Matthew St. Peter's like the best kid in the world. His girlfriend was like sitting next to me. And like, dude, that girl was horrified because I just started like projectile bomb, like right next to her. And like, I looked over like, and she was gone. You know what I mean? I'm like, rightfully so. But whatever. So long story short, I go up, first pitch. I take the pitch because I'm like, dude, I can't even like, you know, I still had like, I have a video of the at bat. I had tears. I had like tears in my eyes from throwing up. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like time blue. I come out. I start wiping my eyes with the jersey and shit. And I'm like, you know, and mind you, it's a close game. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to win this game to win the tournament, you know? And like, I'm like time blue, you know, I'm wiping my eyes, dude. And I get back in the dugout and they're like, oh, like you got butterflies or something they were saying, you know? And the next pitch, I fucking just roped one up the middle of center field and 2 runs scored, you know? And then like go to first and then someone ran me so I could go back and clear out the rest of the shit.
What a savage.
Yeah, so like dude, they showed me a lot of love for that one because they were like, bro, you're a warrior, you know? Like I mean, dude, I was blowing chunk. I did not feel good at all, you know, but I don't know, just those days.
Live to see another day.
Yeah.
Those
Well,
tournament days are they're insane. They're too long. They
yeah.
just are.
You're just
You
putting
know.
stuff all day, trying to stay hydrated. Then you're eating. Then you're doing zins, and you're doing all this. You know what I mean? And you just like next thing you know, you
Yeah.
just don't. It's 11 o'clock at night. You're still playing softball, and you don't. You haven't. You know, you're tired. You want to go home. You don't feel well, and then someone lights a fucking Marlboro Red, and you just want to gag. You know.
And then you're in Maine and you gotta drive home. Like yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of
I
commitment. It is
I
for,
literally.
you know.
It's funny that you say that because I literally I remember texting my mom because she had my dog Mars, who you mentioned. He's here somewhere. He's probably laying down on the couch. But I remember texting my mom being like, I might have to get a hotel in Maine. She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, it's like 12:30. It's like an hour and 45-minute drive home. Like I was just puking 10 minutes, like 20 minutes ago. Like, and then I just ended up
Yeah.
driving. You know, so, but
It's a very lengthy day, and you know, especially as you get older, like I don't know, you know, not everybody's weighing the court, just you know, bouncing around every field and in his 40s, but um, no, well, we got on a little longer than we planned. This has been an amazing interview. Amy, any last words that you have?
Justy, you're a stand-up human. It was a pleasure to get to know you on a deeper level. And thanks for having me as a co-host, Pipes. This was a blast. Good to be back. Happy to have this show, podcast, not a podcast, called whatever, back. We're excited that it's back.
awesome.
Well, that Freedom Ring is indeed back. Thank you again, Justin. This has been a great time tonight. We'll be back soon. But everybody out there, I hope you have a good rest of your day, your evening, and remember to continue to let freedom ring.